My recording setup today has just not been functioning, and I don't know why. Things are just not lining up, they're not connecting. So if this sounds a little off, I apologize in advance, but yeah, welcome to Trying Times. No, but for real, hi, welcome to Trying Times. If you're new here, welcome, welcome. You get two welcomes, not just one, and that's pretty cool. My name is Carmen. I'm a creator in my mid 20s who loves all things art, music, and film, and also this show. I love it. And I mean, I really do, not just because it's my own. It's a really wonderful outlet for me to come and chat with a friend about some things. So, yeah. Also, if you didn't pick that up, you're the friend I'm referring to. So, thanks for being here. As you may know if you've listened before, the show is sort of like chatting with a friend over the phone. It's like a fun call where we just catch up on life and some of the more trying times during it, including those embarrassing moments that you hope no one else witnessed, or if they did, you hope they just don't remember it. Well, today's episode is going to be extra special because we're going to be talking about some specifically embarrassing moments I've had in my own life where I literally begin to question my own level of sanity, just whether I'm okay or not. I think we all have some embarrassing moments sometimes that lead to that point where we might question ourselves. And I just want to start off by saying that's okay, okay? Let's not judge ourselves for that. That's all right. So, going off of that, instead of burying these moments deep down, just repressing them as much as I can, locking them away so that only I would remember them, I'm just gonna fully air them out. And why, you may ask? I genuinely don't have a single clue why I'm doing this, but if it brings a smile to your face, then it's sort of worth it, I suppose. So here we go. Before I regret it, let's just dive right into it. Okay, so this first story I really just want to get into was during my time in university, which I believe a couple of the stories I'm going to share today are from my time in university. And let me just paint a picture for you. I was nearing the end of my fourth and final year of university. So we were well into the exam period at this point in time, and I was just purely and utterly exhausted at most points of the day, if not all points of the day. I was usually up finishing assignments very late at night every single night, and then waking up early the next day to study for exams, and then usually doing something school related, if not writing an exam midday. So, most of my days, obviously, as you can tell, when I was in exam season, much like many other students, was spent just studying and just kind of like racking your own brain over the same topics over and over again. Because, I mean, when you think about it, that's really what studying is. Anyways, at this point in time, anyone who is in or has been in post secondary schooling, you guys understand the level of sleep deprivation. You don't get a lot of sleep. And if you do get a lot of sleep, then I mean, I'm jealous. Please send tips my way on how you did that because I'm not in university anymore and I still just the sleep thing is not, we don't get along. We don't mesh very well. Moving along. You're already under like this immense amount of stress and not sleeping very well. It's just a very unreal point in time. That's what it feels like. And you know what's funny is this is me just going off on another tangent here. We're like what, a few minutes in and I'm already going off on my second or third tangent. But each season after I finished exams, it would either be the winter holiday break or us breaking for the summer. So I would just go from this time of nonstop working, studying, stressing, and all of that fun stuff to just a couple weeks or months of time where I could essentially hibernate to make up from all of that if I really wanted, which honestly I kind of did every time I got the opportunity. And so every time I'd finish my last exam in that exam period or exam season, whatever it was, the stress I felt wouldn't just immediately go away or disappear. So there were some days after I would just kind of like wake up in a panic thinking I had another exam to write. So I don't know what that says. Is that like a form of PTSD? I know I'm not alone in this. It sounds very dramatic. I know. But I had a lot of friends and colleagues also have this issue. And like we talked about it, we bonded over it. That says a lot. I don't know. But is that like a form of PTSD? I'm asking for a friend, but also asking for myself. Anyways, moving along. I think that paints a really good picture of how tired I would be just generally at that point in time. Well, one day I remember I was just so sleepy and it was around lunchtime. And honestly, I needed to study and I just didn't want to be around any distractions or noise. So, where I went to school, we had a library that I believe was somewhere between 5 to 10 floors in size. And it was actually really cool. I kind of wish I spent a little bit more time going through their catalog of books because there's a lot there. So the thing was, each floor you went up, the noise levels would be quieter and quieter. I don't know if I'm describing that very well. So, like on the main floor, there were no noise restrictions. Obviously, it was kind of like the lobby to the library. There were a lot of rooms where people would go to work on group projects. It was like a main hub for the library. Like, that's where the librarians were always stationed at. Like, there was a lot of people coming and going at all times. So, there was quite a bit of noise there. So, there's that. Whereas, if you go up to the 10th floor, and accidentally like sneezed, you'd probably get a death glare or just a dirty look at least because it was just like you could hear a pin drop up there. I feel like if I blinked too loud, you'd hear that up there. Like it was just so quiet. And in all honesty, I think I'd only ever sat on that level maybe once and was just kind of like, yeah, no. I was way too cautious of my breathing and my blinking to actually study, so I just had to leave. It was too much. And then shortly after that, I discovered my favorite floor. The floor where you had no noise distractions, but if you saw a friend and said, hey, you wouldn't get a glare. So the 8th floor is often where I could be found if I was studying, or truthfully, if I just didn't want to be social. I feel really bad saying that now, but sometimes I feel like I would just hide, which I don't know what that says about me, but it was nice and quiet. I had days sometimes where I was there for like 8+ hours, and granted, I lived away from home. I could have taken a bus to where I was living at the time, but then sometimes, like, the amount of time that took up between classes was just a waste of time, so you'd only go home for like maybe half an hour, whereas I could spend like a full hour and a half, like just chilling somewhere quietly on my own. Anyways, I'm justifying this for myself now so I don't sound weird. But so, yeah, sometimes I would just go and sit there and it was just like a really chill, quiet area. So, on this one particular day, I was so tired that I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the 8th floor and quickly just eat and then study because exams. So, I found a great spot and I just sat down, got out my food, put on my headphones, played some nice music, obviously through my headphones, not out loud. Oh my god, not trying to get in trouble here. Well, it hadn't dawned on me just how tired I was. It kind of did, but not fully until I opened up my notebook to make study notes for myself. And I guess the paper just felt like such a vivid shade of white that I genuinely wondered for a good moment how I could turn the brightness down. Like I was sitting there wondering how I could turn the brightness down on a piece of paper. And that is so concerning to me. Like that just says a lot. I don't know if that was more funny or concerning, but that was something I won't ever forget because I remember genuinely like texting my friend who was also my roommate. We did like everything together. She knew my life inside and out at that point in time. If she's listening to this, you know who you are. Anyways, I texted her about this and I was like, you'll never believe what just happened. And I think she was on the same wavelength as me at that point in time too. We were all just so tired and just over life. She was just kind of laughing and found it just as funny as I did. But later on, I think, yeah, that is a cause for concern. I don't know. I should go get something checked out for that. I don't know what I would get checked out for that, but something should be checked out for that. Anyways, there's another story I find quite embarrassing. It's actually worse than this one because this one was just kind of like a moment of self realization and being like, what is wrong with me? Whereas I think this next story I'm about to tell you is more of a thing that other people would probably be like, what is wrong with her? Simultaneously with me being like, what is wrong with me? So, yeah, this story is also one that took place at school, but this was more of a public embarrassing moment because it happened during class. So, again, I'll set the scene. It was the day after Halloween, I'm pretty sure. And I'm not much of like a partier generally, but obviously when everyone's kind of like in university, everyone's kind of experimenting and, figuring out what they like and what they don't like. So through this period of time, I was able to just kind of like figure out what I like, what I don't like, and I'm very comfortable in admitting that I am a grandma. I'm not a partier. I don't like clubs, not my scene. I've said this before. So the night before, my friend and I were hanging out. Actually, my friends and I were hanging out. We didn't go to a club or anything. We just kind of had our own little like party in our place, and we were just having a lot of fun. So the next morning, I did not feel the most fun, if you're catching my drift here. So I think my good friend at the time had slept over because we were clearly being responsible and doing the right thing. right? Not driving under any sort of influence, positive thing to do. So, yeah, she stayed the night and we were probably up till like 1 or 2 a.m., just having a jolly good old time. And the next morning, we had a seminar at like 8 a.m. So, I don't know whose idea it was, probably also in part mine, to stay up that late, knowing we had to wake up the next morning and go to school. And a seminar, I feel like most of you guys know what that is. If you don't, I'll do a quick like rundown, or I'll try to break it down, I guess. It's essentially a class that takes place outside of a lecture, and it's like a smaller group of students from that lecture, and it's led by a teaching assistant. So yeah, I don't know if that helps. Instead of sitting in a classroom or like a lecture hall of like 100 plus people, you're sitting in a classroom with like maybe 20 people in it, and that's how many people I think were in this class. So I do remember not a lot of people showing up for this class because obviously it was 8 a.m. the day after Halloween. So I think at that point people were just kind of mentally checked out or signed off. They were ready to go straight into the weekend and like just party away. So instead of 20 students, there were maybe like 10 to 12, thankfully. So since there were less of us, some students were answering most of the seminar discussion questions because a good handful of people clearly were just, hungover and just not in the mental space, I guess, to talk or want to. There's that too. A lot of people didn't want to talk, me being one of those people. But since that's something that you were graded on, like just having discussion in a seminar, that's something you kind of had to do. So if you didn't answer any questions and you were just kind of present in class, like you showed up but you didn't participate, you were receiving a just passing kind of grade, which is essentially like almost failing kind of grade. So no matter how well you did in that class on assignments or exams, that would really make your overall mark plunge pretty bad. So it was dawning on me that I needed to speak up, and it was like halfway through the class. I just was not feeling good. I felt so groggy and just tired and gross, honestly. So finally, I mustered up the courage to participate. And I think for the first time in my life, I wish I just hadn't. I should have just taken the L. I should have just sat back that day. I shouldn't have opened my mouth that day, is what I'm trying to put out there. So basically, the TA asked a question similar to, I should add, by the way, this is a film class. So he asked a question essentially for anyone to provide an example of stereotypes and roles being reversed in a work of media. So basically, this could be from any film or any TV show that we could think of, and I'm sitting there with an idea in mind. Obviously, you can tell by my tone. It was the stupidest idea, probably. No, not probably, it was. Let me just correct that for myself real quick. It was the stupidest idea. No one else was raising their hand. So I took this as a green light. I should have taken this as a red light, not even a yellow, not even like a slow down, but a red light as in like just stop altogether and just stay silent and just don't open your mouth. So the TA just looks so hopeful that someone raised their hand, someone wants to participate. He's not going to have to obviously like fill in with buffer conversation, lead the discussion even more than he already was. And so this is my shining moment. This is when I decided to open my mouth. And you know what my answer was? My grade A example that came to mind when talking about how stereotypes and roles could be reversed in media was to provide the example of Zach and Cody. Sorry, the sweet life of Zach and Cody. And to further provide evidence by bringing up the characters London and Maddie. I had to take a silent pause for a moment there. I then went on to talk about how Maddie was a blonde, so typically that's like seen as like very like airhead, whatever dits, and then she was really smart, and London in turn was playing an airhead. That was my example. Of any show or movie I could mention, I talked about the sweet life of Zach and Cody. In my third year of university, I was like 21 years old. I'm not saying I should have pulled out like an encyclopedia of like the most prevalent films and provided this Einstein type answer, but like something above the caliber of the answer I provided would have been really wonderful as a starting point, I think. Like I just had to stop myself from talking. It was safe to say, though, after this, I did not speak for the rest of the class. And the TA, well, he honestly looked like he lost all hope in his eyes after I provided my answer. So that was something that I wish I could forget, but other people were around to witness that. So there's no point in hiding it now. I'll own it years later, 5 years later almost, I'll own that now. Okay, so moving on from that, there's one more stupid thing I've done and sometimes still do that I want to mention. And this one's not school related whatsoever. So, to start this off, I'll ask you a question. Something we all do as humans pretty often is call people, right? I just want to preface this with the fact that I hate talking on the phone. Like, I will avoid it at all costs if I can, and that's just me. I'm a texter, and that's the millennial in me, okay? I'll own up to that. For the first time in my life, I'll own up to that. It's true. I hate talking on the phone. So sometimes when I call someone, I have no clue why I do this, but I'll like click on the number or I'll click on the contact's number, whatever. And then, like, right as I put the phone up to my ear, I'll just be like, hello. Like, without any thought, I just say hello. I just press the number. And then I say hello as if the other person is just there and readily available to chat and is waiting for me to be like, hi, hello, let's talk right now. I don't know why I do that, but I do that sometimes. And without fail, it always makes me laugh because it's just like such a stupid thing to do, in all honesty. I don't know why to this day. Why do I say hello? It's like I completely forget I need to wait for the ringing and wait for the person I'm trying to reach to actually answer. It's just such a concept, apparently, that's so hard to understand. So, yeah, I think that's about all the embarrassing and stupid I can manage to share today. If you have any embarrassing moments similar to this and want to share, please go ahead. Let's just be embarrassed together because what could be better than laughing at someone, you say? Laughing with someone. Let's laugh together. Share some embarrassing moments. Actually, if you want, send me a voice message. There's a link in the description of this episode where you can go to send me a voice message if you're cool with it. And I could actually share that in an upcoming episode, which would be really fun. So there's that. And if you want to chat more, but like a little more low key through text or DMs, follow me on Instagram at the Trying Times Podcast and we can chat there. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and I hope it's made you laugh because I've laughed at myself. I've kind of like internally facepalmed a few times during this while having to recount those embarrassing events. So, yeah, I'm gonna go laugh at myself now for all of the dumb stuff I've done. Just spend the rest of the day laughing at myself, truthfully. And yeah, once I recover from that, we'll talk again soon, okay? Bye.